Estelle Godlewski, your emotional support American abroad, and I've moved abroad 3 times in the last 12 years. This is How to Move Abroad for people who don't need more inspiration, they need an actual decision and a checklist. Each week, I cut through the internet noise and walk you through the stuff that actually decides whether this happens or not. Every episode ends with a weekly task because collecting information isn't progress, and someday isn't a strategy. Let's get into it. Okay, hi, welcome back. Last week was heavy. I know. I made it heavy on purpose because I think it's something that everybody needs to hear, and I stand by that. But I also think if I made you cry 2 weeks in a row, you're going to start avoiding me like a gym membership in February. And well, if you want to move abroad, we can't have that. So today we're going to do something a little bit different again. Today we're going to have a drink, metaphorically or literally. I really don't care. You do you. And we're going to talk about moving abroad like two normal people who have actual senses of humor about their lives. No crying, no framework, no 17-step process, because who has time for that? Just honest, slightly unhinged truth about what it actually looks like when you stop making it so fucking complicated. One thing, one very manageably, totally doable, will not kill you thing that you can do this week to move this whole situation forward. That's it. That's the episode. Nothing heavy because, I don't have enough time for heavy every week. So you ready? Let's go then. I'm going to say something for just a second that, well, the truth is moving abroad is genuinely, objectively, if you look at it from the outside, absolutely absurd. Like, step back for a second and look at what you are attempting to do. You're trying to take your entire life, your stuff, your family, your pets, your anxieties, your very specific brand of chaos. And trust me, mine is so crazy. It's insane. And you're trying to physically relocate it to another country where you probably have to speak a different language and definitely have different paperwork and possibly eat things you've never even heard of before for breakfast. And you're doing this research in a parking lot while waiting in line for your kid, at school pickup, at red lights, in the notes app on your phone at 11 o'clock at night with one eye open because you have to be up at 6, but you just found a really interesting thread about Portuguese T7 visa requirements and you cannot stop now because you'll forget it by morning. This is really simply insane. And also, it's completely possible. Those two things are both true. They are not mutually exclusive. And I think it helps just to acknowledge that up front instead of pretending like it's totally normal and chill to go do about this planning stuff. It's not normal. It's a little unhinged. And that's kind of what makes it great. Okay, so the thing is, I need to say something and I need you to not get defensive about it. So if you're having a non-metaphorical drink with me, have one. If it's metaphorical, then pretend you're drinking one and take a deep breath, because the truth is you are researching too much. I know you probably are like, wait, Mistel, I'm not researching enough. I know your brain is telling you that you just need this little bit more information before you can make any decisions. I know there are approximately 47 browser tabs open right now with names like Best Countries for Americans in 2026 and How Much Does It Cost to Move Abroad? And Is Portugal still a good, or did everyone ruin it? And can I bring my dog to Germany on the plane and not underneath the plane? I want you to close them. Like right now, close all of them if you have them in front of you. If you don't, when you get home, close them all. Not forever, but just for today. Just while you're listening to this episode, if you're in your car, put down the phone. Do not text and drive simultaneously. Just listen. Because here's the dirty secret about research that nobody in the move abroad space wants to tell you. At a certain point, and I'm betting a lot of you have already passed that point, more research is not making you more prepared. It's making you even more paralyzed. Every new piece of information is just another thing your brain has to hold on to and another reason not to make a decision yet. Research without decision is just anxiety with a productivity costume on. And you, my friend, are already very well dressed. So please don't do that. And yes, yoga pants count as well dressed in my life. Here's what's funny about moving abroad. People make it sound like you need to have it all figured out, 1,000 things to do before you can even start. And the 1,000 things breed 1,000 more things. And suddenly you're 3 years deep into a spreadsheet and you haven't actually done a single thing. You don't need 1,000 things. You need 3 to start, at least. Just 3, I promise. Number 1, you need a visa lane, one that actually fits your life. not the visa you've seen the most content about, the one you actually qualify for. We talked about this during our first episodes in this whole podcast, whether this is your work visa, your family reunification, your digital nomad, student, passive income, job seeker. There's a million different types of visas. One of those fits you. You have to figure out which one. That's where you have to start. This is the step that makes everything real. I cannot overstate how different things feel once you go from, I want to move abroad, to I'm looking at a specific visa for a specific country that I actually qualify for. It goes from a vibe to a plan in approximately 37 seconds. Number two is a country. Okay, fine, maybe possibly two countries, but not 17. Once you know your visa, you can start narrowing down your countries because you'll know which visas you qualify for. You can look in which countries you qualify for those visas. The place or places where you can actually see the life in that paragraph happening, the one we wrote about last week. It's not the place that's best Instagram aesthetic. It's not the place your coworker moved to in 2019. It's the place that actually makes sense for your life, your budget, your family, your visa situation, your personality. You don't have to be sure. You just have to pick something to aim at so you're not researching the entire world simultaneously, which is, I promise you, a completely unwinnable game. So once you know your visa and you know your country, you can start looking at number three, which is your number. That's the actual amount of money that you need, not $20,000 because the internet said so. Your number, landing costs plus float costs plus exit costs. We talked about this a couple weeks ago during the money episodes. If you haven't run it yet, go back and run it. It takes 20 minutes or less, and it will almost certainly be less terrifying than the number your imagination has been using. And once you have that number, realize you don't need it all just to start. You are not going to need whatever that big number will turn out to be, whatever that is for you, whatever it feels like. It is not all due up front. It does not mean you need that number at the beginning. You need it throughout the whole move, sure, but you don't need it at the beginning. You need three things to get started. You need a country, you need a visa, and you need your number. Everything else, the shipping costs, the schools, the healthcare, the where do I even buy furniture in another country? Where am I going to live for the first 6 months? All of those things comes later. And it's all figure outable, but those three things are what you actually need to get started. Because if you don't have those, it's really, 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 really hard. And you keep in this stinking research spiral that you've been in forever and you never actually can go anywhere. So you have to do something. So start with your visa. What kind of visas do I qualify for? What countries do I have on my short list that have that type of visa that I qualify for? And how much do I need to get there? I want to address something else that I hear constantly, and it makes me want to flip a table in the most affectionate way possible. And that is somebody has notoriously asked me, but what if I pick wrong? Oh my God, seriously? Okay. Let's talk about this before my head explodes. What if you pick the wrong country? What if you move somewhere and it's not perfect and you have to adjust? What if the visa you chose turns out to be not quite right for year 3 and you have to switch to a different one? What if your number is slightly off and month 1 is tighter than you planned? Helpful hint, you'll figure it out. I know this sounds like a pep talk, and I told you I don't do pep talks, and you know that about me if you know me at all, but not being pep talky right now. I'm being factual. You will figure it out because you are a person who figures things out. You've been figuring things out for your entire life. You figured out jobs and kids and relationships and health stuff and money stuff and all manner of chaos that is much less within your control than a relocation plan. You are not going to move to another country and discover that you are suddenly incapable of problem solving. That is not how brains work. Will the move be perfect? Absolutely not. There will absolutely be in a moment, I can guarantee it. It happened to me and all of my different moves in my life, where you're standing in a foreign grocery store, completely unable to identify which of the products is laundry detergent and which is fabric softener. And you will want to cry a little bit. And if you're me, you're actually going to cry in those prices when you see them. That moment, I guarantee, is going to happen. And then you'll figure it out. Or you'll download Google Translate and point your phone at the thing until it makes sense. Or you will buy both and hope for the best when you get home. This is the level of problem we're talking about. It is not insurmountable. It's just unfamiliar. Unfamiliar is not dangerous. Unfamiliar is honestly just something new. And since we're in a not in a heavy place this week, let me just rapid fire some things that people catastrophize about and that are genuinely measurably less awful than advertised. First one is the language barrier. You do not need to be fluent before you go. You will need to be willing to try and willing to look like an idiot while you're trying. The trying is what matters. Nobody expects you to be perfect. Most people are delighted that you're even attempting their language at all when you first arrive. Download Duolingo, use it inconsistently like the rest of us, and just speak. Badly at first, maybe as much as like your 9-month-old would be able to say mom, dad, cow, and moo. You will learn to speak less badly. It will be fine, I promise. You just have to put in a little bit of effort, but you do not need to know the entire language before you move. Next, finding houses. These are much easier than you think too. Is it complicated? Yes. Does it take time? Yes. Will you probably need a temporary place while you sort out your permanent one? Absolutely, especially because your shit's going to take 6 weeks to get here if you ship it across the ocean. Or if you're ordering furniture, same damn difference. This is annoying. It is not impossible. People find housing in foreign countries every single day. You will be one of them. Temporary housing is completely Airbnb-able if you need it to be. Healthcare. This one is a little bit titchy for people, and it's a touchy subject because we all know that the US and healthcare is a shit show. And that's the kindest word I can come up with. In most countries that you're moving to is better than what you have now. It is cheaper than what you have now. And I know this sounds like a wild claim if you've ever lived in the American system, but I promise you the shock of affordable healthcare is one of the most disorienting and delightful things about moving abroad. You may need to have temporary healthcare or health insurance for a short period of time when you arrive. You will figure it out. It is not that complicated, and you can make it happen. Making friends. That's another one I hear about all the time. And oh my God. Yes, I know it is hard to make friends as an adult. I am a super introvert when it comes to new people. I hate talking to people I don't know, but it gets less hard. You'll have your people. You will always figure out the people eventually. Humans are social creatures. Even if you're the most introverted person on the planet like me, you will find humans that you can talk to. It just takes a bit longer than you want it to, and that's okay. The last one that I want to talk about is paperwork, because there is a shit ton of paperwork. It is genuinely terrible. I will not lie to you about this one. The paperwork is a lot, and it's slow, and bureaucracies everywhere on earth seem to operate on their own timeline, which has no relationship to anything human at all, but it ends. It always eventually ends, and you just have to trudge through it. And then it repeats every year that you have to get some paperwork to continue to renew your visa. And that's okay too. You will figure that shit out. See, it is all manageable. All of it. You just have to quit telling yourself that it's not. The one task for you this week. If you haven't done it yet, you have two things that you should have already done. You should already know your visa, and you should already know your number. If you haven't done that yet, go back to the beginning of this podcast season. We talked about picking your visa. We talked about finding out your number. There's a bunch of episodes where I think this is episode 12 or 13, something like that. Go back and listen to the previous ones from earlier in the season where we talk about finding your number, where we talk about picking your visa. This week, you're going to narrow down a country, maybe to the one or two where your life in the paragraph that you wrote last week could actually happen. It is not based on vibes. It is not based on aesthetics. It is based on, does the cost of living work for my rough budget? Is there a visa pathway I might actually qualify for? We should know those two things, right? You figured those out already. And do I actually want to live there, or do I just want a vacation there? Because those are two very, very different things. I love Italy. I love going on vacation to Italy. I would never live in Italy. Same for Greece. For a number of different reasons, this is just my personal world. I love to go vacation in Greece. I love to go vacation in Italy. I could not live there. The bureaucracy would kill me. You are not committing to anything right now. You're going to pick your country that you want to do more research on. You are not buying a plane ticket this week. You're not telling anyone. You're just pointing yourself in a direction so that you can have something to work with when we get here next week. One country, maybe two, write it down and go. Okay. This is the end of the episode. You've made it all the way through. Hopefully it's lighter than last week. Intentionally it is, because you needed a breather, and honestly, so did I. Next week, we're going to take the country you wrote down and actually figure out what moving there would look like for your specific situation. We've talked about visas and numbers and timelines, but we're going to kind of go a little bit different and talk about how that relates to a specific country. I am not going to go through every one of your countries because I can't, but how do you make those things fit together? All your work is this week is to pick a country, write it down. That's it. Then you can find me on Instagram and tell me what country you're pointing yourself to, because that would really help me as I start making out the next few episodes. I love to know where you're going, or you can email me and let me know, because it really, really helps me figure out what do you need to know next. I love figuring out where people are moving. It's my favorite part of this whole process. The moment someone goes from, I want to move abroad, to I'm moving to Germany, or I'm moving to Portugal, or I can't decide, help me. That's the moment it all gets more real, and I never, ever get tired of it. So go have a drink. You've earned it. And I will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to A Broadly Speaking. If today's episode got you dreaming a little bigger or thinking a little braver, go ahead and hit subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who's ready for their own adventure. And hey, don't be a stranger. Come hang out with me over on Instagram at @IamEstelle for the real, unfiltered life abroad. Keep that passport handy, and remember, life's too short to stay in one place.